Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the Mzansi Football Show on One World Sports Radio. My name is Mpomutwane, and I've got Tabang, our, our show, where we talk about South African football, all things that are happening in South African football, including the DSTV Premiership and Bafana Bafana and Banyana Banyana and Bantwana as well, who are playing this week. I'm saying the COSAFA Women's Championship. So that's going to be some great things that we're going to be talking about today. Please do like, subscribe, and engage us on these various platforms. On Facebook, we're live right now on Facebook. We're also live on Twitter. We are. We also have an Instagram page. If you want to DM us, send us messages, please do. But the most important thing, people, please, in order to help our Station One World Sports Radio grow and ourselves get up there and get a lot of leverage, we need you to subscribe and like to our YouTube channel. Please do so. Let's get this far and wide. Please share this video to your friends or family who are into South African football. This weekend, T-Man, we had the MTN8. We had a little bit of drama with SAFA and Le Coq Kit regarding the kit that Banyana and Bantwana. I should stop saying Bantwana, but we've got this double situation, but it's Bantwana going on with Le Coq and the fact that we didn't know if the women's team was going to wear the Le Coq kit that was launched last month. But we'll talk about that. Eric Tinkler seems to be in a lot of trouble in Maritzburg. No longer Friday Night Lights. It's seemingly the lights are seemingly getting dimmer for him there. Tipper United are looking a shadow of who we've always known them to be. And then we've also got stuff we're going to talk about regarding the fixtures that are going to start in 30 minutes. Remember, we're recording this on Wednesday at 7 p.m. For the 30 minutes before the kickoff. So please do note that. So we'll talk about the games, but you might be watching this after the games as well. But we'll set you up for the weekend games as well. T-Man, how are you doing? How's your week?
I'm good, thanks, Simple. Just getting through the week at the moment, as you know. Just enjoying the sports at our disposal, and already enjoying the football, having the PSL back, having local football back. It's always great seeing our local stars in action on all fronts.
Yes, no, that's very true, T-Man. It's good to have it back. And this weekend it was a little bit dry with just the two fixtures. It's just odd, and that's the thing I don't like about the fixture. The allocation of fixtures, whenever it's MTN, guys, there's only 4 teams playing. Can other teams play too?
Exactly. Exactly, Paul. You're 100% right. I think one thing that we really need to get right in the PSL and is that when teams are playing in the MTN8, the rest need to continue playing. And I think, especially in a time like this during coronavirus, during anticipated lockdowns, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we really need to try and get as much fixtures in as possible to ensure that we really keep moving. Our players are active all the time. And we need to remember that our players also need to get their fitness back, get their full fitness back. So they really need to be in action week in, week out.
Yes, Tim, man. I think, it was all awkward because the derby was at 3 o'clock. After the derby, there's no Maritzburg versus somebody that we can watch and calm down. We're just, everyone's all in their fields. Everyone's now laughing at Chiefs because they lost 3-0. So, yeah. But let's go into that. How was that derby for you? First derby of the season. It's without fans. How did you feel about it not being without fans? Because I was feeling some type of way. I liked watching it from the TV. I think SuperSport does a great production. And Thabiso Dema's, like, I could listen to him all day. I want to be like him one of these days, but you never know. But like, I kind of felt that it lost. Obviously, it's a derby, but it's derby under COVID, and it was obviously we had to kind of get to this point, and we did. And I think the football on the field kind of helped with the fact that there were no fans. It would have been incredible with fans there. I remember the last time I was at the derby, I think Chiefs were getting smacked left ways. I think it was 3-1, I think that day. I I think it was 2018, and it was just buzzing. It was buzzing. Chiefs fans were crying. Pirates fans were happy. I found out that Pirates was in the Bible. It's the only football team that's ever in the Bible because supposedly dry bones get resurrected, and that's how Orlando Pirates came to be. But that's another story. How did you see that? So how did you feel the atmosphere in that game while watching on TV?
No, but you mentioned it quite rightly so, but that the derby is the number one fixture in South African football. And regardless of where the teams find themselves in terms of lock positions, guaranteed for every single game. In terms of fan attendance, 90,000 fans always fill up the stadium there at Soccer City Import. And that is why you find that they could move the game to Orlando Stadium in this kind of scenario. But you would normally not have a game the magnitude of the Soweto Derby in Orlando Import. I think in a game like that, you have to have it at Soccer City Import. And you know Soccer City is packed to the rafters Import. You know the atmosphere Import. You know the traffic going into the stadium Import. You really, on that kind of day Import, if you have to travel from the north to go to the south, you just have to cancel your trip because so many taxis, so many trains, so many cars are traveling to Soweto. The flags are out, and I think we really missed that atmosphere. As you mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, but the atmosphere makes it. You can feel it when you go into the malls. You can see people wearing the shirts and stuff, and that is something that we really missed this weekend.
Yeah, it kind of felt like even being outside in the community that nobody actually knew about it. It wasn't made a big deal about it because normally with Derby Day, there's that anticipation. You wake up with an even though your team might get beaten, and you know who your team is behind the eight ball, or you're having a bad season. You think that day is that day, and you kind of feel it. It's there. It's palpable even in the streets when people are walking. Someone's wearing a Kaizer Chiefs shirt. Someone's wearing a Pirate shirt. They caps. There's those little bandanas that going on. On top of that, you always anticipate seeing. And this is what I've missed. I won't lie to you, T-Man. I missed the cabbage and the loaf of bread. That's all I missed. You know, the fans up front there with the cabbage and the loaf of bread. That's what I missed. But let's move on to the field. Kaizer Chiefs put out a very young side. You wouldn't say it's young. I don't like to say inexperienced because it was a mixture of youth and experience. Against an Orlando Pirates side that was trying to find their structure. And early in the season, teams were trying to find what their best structure is. You thought with the win at Chippa United, Kaizer Chiefs went with a similar structure that they played against Chippa United. And then Pirates were looking for something because they necessarily didn't win against Stellenbosch United. It was a draw, but they were still tinkering with it, and they found some sort of something that works with Wade Jooste being the fullback and sitting and not going up because that was his issue. And then you had that front five of, well, not necessarily. I would call it a front five. A front four: Dzuka Manja, Thembi Nkosi-Lorch, Vincent Bule, and Zakhele Lepasa. But when you looked on paper, you thought Pirates were going to win. But in the first half of the game, it really felt, outside of the fact that Pirates scored the opening goal, it felt that Kaizer Chiefs had it in them. There were a couple of chances there that could have gone either way. And if they converted one of those chances, I'm thinking of Castro right in front of goal. When Kama just opens up for him and he's right in front of goals and he's missing. You know, that could have changed the game. The scoreline, and that's my point, the scoreline doesn't necessarily reflect what actually happened on that day and how close it was actually to being to actually being a different scoreline or a different result altogether.
100% Paul. If you look at the starting lineup, which was selected by Gavin Hunt, you saw from his first two games, he first fielded the experienced players in the first game, which were the likes of Lebogang Manyama, Katande, Itumele Nkune, Bernard Parker. He realized in that first game that, the experienced players aren't giving him what he wanted, that injection of pace, that quick moving passing. Kune made a couple of mistakes in the first game against Mamelodi Sundowns, which led to him using the trusted youngsters. And the youngsters, they really showed their talent in the previous games. You saw the likes of Njabulo Blom, Mashiane, and also Nkosinathi Ngcobo, who really did well midweek and was selected as man of the match going into this game. And that's what Gavin Hunt he used that derby, and he did the right thing by selecting the youngsters. This is the time when they can get that experience, when you don't have the fans in the stadium to create that pressure on them. And you're right. You mentioned it quite right there, that Kaizer Chiefs had a golden opportunity in the early stages of the game where Kamabijak managed to beat the defender, lay on a pinpoint pass to Leonard Crostro, and he a sitter, and you'd expect him in a Soweto derby, with the stakes so high, that a striker who is as experienced as Castro should bury chances like that, and I think chances like that, they can really put the Kaizer Chiefs heads down, and I think that's what happened. And Pirates, a couple of minutes after that, against the run of play, a defensive mistake. Against a defensive mistake by Kaizer Chiefs, where Pilani Zulu wasn't marking Lepasa, cross comes in from Tsukamanja, and Zakele Lepasa finds himself unmarked in the box, neat header, and he beats the goalkeeper to score the first goal of the game. And one thing that I liked about what you mentioned a couple of minutes ago was that Pirates did not find their combination in the early games. They were chopping and changing the starting 11, but I think Joseph Zimbabwe has finally found his core players, and you saw that Temi Nkosi, his first part of the season, he was man of the match of the game. He has had a couple of issues off the field which have affected him, but he was a rejuvenated player on Saturday. He was man of the match. He was really playing well. You found Thabang Munare, a player who Kaizer Chiefs have been courting over the past season and a half. And unfortunately, they didn't sign him at the right time. Kaizer Chiefs were waiting for him to be a free agent, as Bobby rightly does. And unfortunately, it came back to bite them. And you found Thabang Munare was excited to don the Orlando Pirates jersey. He controlled things in the middle of the park. Tsukamanja, Thabang Munare. And that's one thing that we need to consider about this Orlando Pirates side, is that you find that one thing that works well for them is that they signed so many players from Bidvest Wits. These players are now finding their rhythm together at Orlando Pirates. It's pretty much a Bidvest Wits side that you see. You've got the likes of Tyson Chatoya at the back. You've got Ben Mutori in the middle of the field. You've got Dion Hotter coming on from the bench. You've also got Vincent Pule, who also played at Pirates. So the team, remember, I don't know if you forgot who my pick for the league title was. It was Orlando Pirates. And I think
you picked Orlando Pirates.
I think the team, if they can find their rhythm, as they did on Saturday against Chiefs, if they can find that rhythm and build onto what they built on Saturday, this team can be very dangerous.
So look, I think for me, the positives from Chiefs were Nkosi Ngoba. I think he played incredibly well. The pass that led to that missed opportunity, it came from him. He drew Wade Yesterday. He gave a pinpoint pass that split the Pirates defenders and draw Nyauza out for Billy to do what he needed to do. I think he played well. But from a Pirates perspective, that second goal was just class. The way in which it was who moved across? It was Monare. It was Monare who drew the man out wide, got the ball, and Vincent Bula with the touch there and the finish. That was incredible. Chiefs chased the game the whole way through, and it was largely because of the fact that they conceded. And in the derby, when you go 1-0 down, you're always chasing. It was just surprising to see a Gavin Hunt team be so open. It comes with time. Defensively, Kaizer Chiefs were open. They weren't willing to make the tackles. They weren't willing to come in hard. And so that's kind of what Gavin has to fix. Because I think some guys don't know whether they're going to be playing tomorrow or whether they're gonna have an extended run in the side. So those are the type of things I think Gavin Hunt has to worry about. But from a Pirates perspective, you spoke about, obviously, we've been talking about their structure and how well they seemingly have found some sort of structure. And the thing about it is Gabadinho Mango's on the bench, is not even playing. He's injured. That is incredible. That, they're winning without one of the top goal scorers last season. And that's dangerous, because then if you, for instance, take out Zakele Lepasa, put in Gabadinho Mango, it changes everything. One last question around this. Joseph Zimbabwe was gone, right? And I want to talk about this because I think this is important, because to a certain extent, yes, Pirates have found their structure, but football's just not about, let's replicate the same structure the whole way through. There's some tactics that need to change. Pirates have given Joseph Zimbabwe leave to go and be with his family at this time. We just our prayers are with him at this time and his family after his son was hospitalized. Does Fadlu Davids obviously coming on to help out? The assistants are there. The structure's there. Does that change the dynamic in the changing room? Knowing that no longer Zimbabwe is no longer there, and now you've got Fadlu David, who I think is a very good coach. I felt Mansburg didn't deserve to fire him. Do you think that changes anything for Pirates this season? Because obviously we don't know where Zimbabwe is going to come back. Do you see them struggling because of this, or is it just that they've got the players to do it, and whoever you put on, it's just going to be magic, like what happened on Saturday?
Well, no, they're not going to struggle. Zimbabwe has Pirates signed a good crop of players in the off-season. They've got a very talented crop of players, and as you mentioned, players like Gabadino and Manhango are on the bench. You've got a player, Happy Jalen, loads of experience. He's the most experienced player in the Pirates camp. He's on the bench, and you've got such a tons of experience in that squad. You've got some youngsters coming up. You've got the core. They really found, and you've got that foundation which they built, which came through, and they showed glimpses of that brilliance on Saturday afternoon. You've got a player like Tembinkosi Loach, who's the team is on. He's passed his. Unfortunately, as you remember, he was player of the season 2 seasons ago, and he really wanted to move abroad, but I'm sure he's put that past him now, and he really wants to impress and also just put his hand up and try and get that move abroad again, and I think you've got that good crop of players, and I think what's great about the Pirates and what's great about what Joseph Zimbabwe is that he finally found that structure, that winning formula against Kaizer Chiefs. The confidence of the players is now up. They didn't concede a goal. There's a clean sheet. The players can really, if they can formulate and build on what they've got there, add the likes of Gabadino Mhango, and you've got a train that you need to really watch out for the black and white train of Orlando Pirates.
Anyway, let's move on to the other match, that Bloemfontein Celtic and SuperSport match. Didn't watch a lot of it, but it was a typical, when these two teams play, it's inevitably going to be a draw. There's a stat on Opta Jabu, if you want to go look, that speaks about how many times SuperSport and Celtic draw. But here's the thing. The most important thing that Celtic wanted to get out of that game was an away goal. They got it. Do you think Celtic going back home, yes, there's no fans, do you think they'll be able to, because we know the potential that SuperSport has up front, do you think they have the potential to upset, well, not necessarily upset, let's not say upset, but to beat Bloemfontein Celtic and push them through? I think we spoke about this last week. Celtic run. They run 24/7. They run. Everybody in that team just runs. They defend as a pack. They're hard to break down, and on top of that, they can catch you on the counter, which is what surprised SuperSport with that goal that Ndumiso Mabena scored. Do you see SuperSport coming through with because they've got the better players, but it's with South African football, having the better players doesn't guarantee you a win, and we saw that last week with Sundowns and TTM. But do you think that SuperSport have it in them, or is it going to be Celtic in that final against? We're assuming that Chiefs is not coming back from 3-0 down.
So, I predicted SuperSport as the winners for this game, given the experience of the squad, given how many good players they've got. They've got the experience at the back and the likes of Clayton Daniels. They've got the goalkeeper, the number one goalkeeper in South Africa, in my view, at the moment. South African goalkeeper in Ronald Williams, and they've also got the youngsters up front, such as Tebogo Mokoena in the middle of the park, and you've got you've also got Bradley Grobler, high on confidence, and you've also got Thamsanqa Kabuza. As you know, Thamsanqa Kabuza, very, very strong player, creates a lot of goals for the likes of Bradley Grobler. I think SuperSport just they experienced the hiccup against Celtic on Sunday, and you mentioned it quite right, that by saying that Celtic, they are the underdogs in this time, and they really show their potential on Sunday afternoon, where they came with the counter attack against the run of play, and that's one thing that Celtic can really get if they can kind of look back, going back to Bloemfontein, going back to the Pat Molebela Stadium. if they can just look at the optics of the game and see that, okay, we've got an away goal, there's no pressure on us. SuperSport are under pressure. If we can contain SuperSport and if we can continue doing the counter attacks, and we could find a surprise in this game. But I still go with SuperSport United for this time. One thing that I really like about Bloem Celtic is that they've got some talent also in that side. They've got Dumiso Mabena, experienced, and that's what you saw on Sunday afternoon. Nice pass was passed to him, and he showed his experience there, and he calmly slotted it past the goalkeeper there. And that's one thing that Celtic can win this game, is that counter attack play over there. And they've also got that youngster from Golden Arrows who used to set the MDC on fire, Andile Figizolo. He's been injured. It was really good seeing him finally finding his feet in the PSL. I think that's one player that I really think, if he can find his feet, if he can put a couple of games in him for the Celtics, he can really knock on the door for Bafana Bafana.
Wow, that's a big endorsement. I do agree. Figizolo is great. I'm not too sure in terms of Bafana quality team, man. But I do think from in the structure that Celtic play, they're very good runners. And Figizolo, even last season with the glimpses we saw, he was very good. The one thing that we need to note as well is Jackson Mabukwan is injured. So too is Lansene Palane, who is normally him and Figizolo would sub each other out. So that's going to be interesting to see how they will play with that. But I'm sure they'll find some other young guys. They've still got Chilimbu. They've got Mabena. They're not write them off at your own peril. Is what we're saying here at the Mzansi Football Show. Let's move off the stuff off the field. Let's move on to our next segment of the show, which is stuff on the field. Now let's move on to what's off the field. This weekend we saw a story that was done by on the New Age by Busisiwe Mkwena. She shed the light on how SAFA is necessarily neglecting women's football, and the easy thing here is around the kit. The fact that they were training with the Nike kit the whole week, and Bafana Bafana have now. Well, we all knew a month ago that Le Coq Sportif is now the kit supplier for the national teams. And in that story caused a stir. Then SAFA released a press release saying that that it takes about 4 to 6 months for a kit supply to have all the kits ready, and those are the timelines Le Coq provided for them. And also that Le Coq's contract was actually supposed to start in January 2021. So there's a lot of questions that I have around it. Why did we just get Nike even now with Bafana Bafana until December 20? Until Le Coq were fully ready to kit Bafana Bafana out in 2021, and B, if we've already started with the Le Coq contract, didn't somebody look on the fixture list and say, hey, Banyana have a COSAFA coming up also, and Bantwana as well? Why can't you produce 60 kits? Okay, it's 23. Yeah, 60 kits for Bantwana and Banyana, including the practice kits and everything else. It doesn't look well from a South African perspective, a SAFA perspective, because it's just egg on your face. T-Man, I watched yesterday, Banyana had the Le Coq kit. Somebody somewhere figured out that it doesn't take 6 months to produce a kit, and they did that. But then Bantwana today were wearing Nike. Really, really embarrassing, really, really bad, in a time where, and this is where I'm going to leave it, in a time where our national women's stars, the majority of the guys who played at the World Cup, or who played minutes at the World Cup, are overseas playing in Europe. How are South Africans supposed to take women's football seriously at a time where we're supposed to be taking it seriously? We were always supposed to be taking it seriously, but at a time where we're supposed to get eyes on the TV, when we can't even organize kit for the team. It just baffled me, man.
Paul, I think one thing that we need to focus on, and I think our focal point here, number one it's not the kit. I think our focal point for this discussion over here, Paul, should be Banyana are our number one team in SAFA. For many years, they have represented us so well, Paul. They reached the final of the African Women's Championships in 2019, Paul, or 2018.
Yes.
Please correct me if I'm wrong.
2018.
Thembi Kgatlana was African Player of the Year in 2018. Desiree Ellis was CAF Women's Coach of the Year. Banyana have continuously flown the South African
you forgot
flag.
one more thing. You forgot one more thing there. You forgot that they qualified for the FIFA Women's World Cup for the first time in the nation's history.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. I think that's the focal point, bro, is that Banyana have continuously qualified for the Olympics. They qualified for the FIFA World Cup. And so many players are playing in prestigious leagues in Europe. Bro.
It's not accountants and doctors like the men are. The men are playing as accountants and doctors. These guys, AC Milan, Refulojan. You've got Ibar with Thembi Kgatlana. You've also got Jermaine Siopasingwe in Spain. I think it's Real Betis. She's playing in Spain. You've got Linda Motlalo's playing in Sweden.
Exactly.
You've got Janine van Beek at Glasgow Celtic. Playing these are Champions League clubs. They're playing UEFA Champions League games. Our women playing those games, and that's even given an opportunity for Desiree to pick the next group, the next group of stars to join them in Europe. But we can't keep them out. We can't keep them out.
That's the number one thing, is that Banyana, I think that's the focal point of this discussion. Regardless of, I'm going to go to the kit. Let me put the kit here, and let me just say that we need to respect our ladies. We need to give them the respect that they deserve. We need to honor them. We need to give them the respect that they deserve. We need to sponsor them. We need to support them. And to that extent, in terms of resources and putting resources into South African football, we really need to see where's the return on investment. And the return on investment is on Banyana at the moment. It's not on Bafana. Bafana, we've spoken about it. 2 weeks ago, they lost 2 games against. They drew 1 game against Namibia and they lost to Zambia. And that's Bafana. But Banyana against Angola yesterday, they won 2-0 comfortably. The goalkeeper did not. I read an article yesterday, and they said the goalkeeper was a spectator. The defenders were spectators yesterday, just to show how Banyana continuously make us proud in South Africa. That's number one. I've spoken about Banyana. Number 2, as SAFA, South African Football Association. Number 1, let me go back to that 2 weeks ago. Bafana were wearing the Le Coq Kit. It was raining, but you could see the coaches. You saw pictures of Bulefi Nteke and Arthur Zwane in Nike kit, but it was blacked out in the tracksuits. And then in the second half, you saw them changing back to. They took those Nike tracksuits off. I thought that was the end of the debacle. Unfortunately, it wasn't. As you said, this weekend we read reports that coming from the new frame that unfortunately Le Coq Sportif, the kit wasn't ready for Banyana. How can you do that to our ladies? Number 1, I disagree with that statement from SAFA because we knew about this contract with Le Coq Sportif before going into lockdown. They should have looked at the fixtures. And they should have started preparing ahead. And they had a chance when they made that mistake with Bafana 2 weeks ago. They had a chance to kind of realize and step back and say, guys, in 3 weeks, 2 weeks time, Banyana are playing. Let's get our ducks in order. Let's get their kits ready. And I think what happened was, I praise whoever released that article, because that article put pressure on SAFA, it put pressure on the Coq Sportif, and they quickly managed to get a kit because they realized that if we do not get a kit for Banyana, who are playing in the COSAFA Cup, it's really not going to look good on Bafana. And it's so unfortunate that things like this are happening. We have to be regarded. We were once regarded as the number 1 team on the African continent. Unfortunately, we've gone down. But given our resources, given the resources at our disposal, we still have the best financial resources in terms of teams in Africa. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Egypt and maybe it's Morocco who've probably come up over the past few years. But we still have resources in our football. We've got a league which is regarded as the top 10 most organized leagues in the world. We've got teams we've got big sponsors backing our teams. But it's so sad that now we can't get our national teams kits. We should. Bantwana as well. They've also gone to the African Championships and represented us well.
They've gone to the World Cup.
100%. The players who are playing and Banyana have the best structure in terms of SAFA. The ladies who played for Banyana 3 years ago, who played for Botswana 3 years ago are now playing for Banyana Banyana. And look at how much dividends is playing for. You mentioned the cream of players that are representing us in Europe. And it's so sad. So many players have got scholarships in the USA in terms of our Banyana ladies. They're representing us with class. But we can't organize a kit for them. It's so sad that our national team has come to this at the moment. I'm sad as a South African.
But T-Man, you and I are. T-Man, you and I are in business, and we have day job outside of this. This is our passion, and we know that it's the little things that count. It's the small little
attention to detail.
That elevate you. And the problem is that South Africa has, and this is the thing about South Africa. We are the second largest economy in Africa. We know this. We have all the resources in the world. We have hosted a FIFA World Cup. That FIFA from 2010, our football, men's and women's, should have elevated into the stratosphere where we should have been competing with not only the best in Africa, but competing with the best in the world, in Europe, because of the foundations that should have been laid for football in this country. All those legacy projects that they said they were going to do, all those fields that they said they were going to fix. But if you can't get something like the kit that the team's going to wear right, everything else falls apart. And it's an explanation as to where our football is. The fact of the matter is Banyana Banyana are fighting against all the systems that are against them. And their talent is what is elevating them over anything else. If these systems are working for them, we could be a champion in Africa. We could be top 20 in the world as an African footballing nation if all these systems were facing them in the correct direction. But it seems like actually footballers in South Africa, I think male footballers have it a lot easier, but female footballers are swimming against the tide day in and day out. This thing of not having the correct kick. Here's a funny thing. Here's the thing for me, and I thought this now. You don't need to have a Le Coq shirt with a Bafana logo or a SAFA logo up front. If you're not ready, you could have just said, okay, fine, here's some generic Le Coq shirts, shorts, t-shirt, women's cut, whatever it is, the socks, and you could have played, you could have mixed matched the colors and all those things for Banyana Banyana colors. I'm assuming Le Coq produces in a factory somewhere sports apparel, and you could have just given it to them so they could wear. And then even with the jackets, like I don't get the whole jacket saga for me, because you could have gone to a Le Coq store. Go Risick Street in Joburg. It's there. I don't know what corner it is, but it's on Risick. If you go down Risick, you'll find it. Go there, go get those jackets. They'll just have the Le Coq badge on there. You don't need the SAFA badge, and let people wear them because it's cold and it's raining. Those are the type of things that don't make sense to me. It's like, what's going on? And then you ask yourself, these people knew about COVID that in 2021, this thing was going to start. So why didn't they tell Le Coq, okay, fine, if you're starting in January 2021, just get us the kit. Even if we're in lockdown, you can still sell the kit and say, Bafana started a great new sponsorship at Le Coq. Here's the new kit. Go and get it in stores because we're anticipating games are going to be played. But nobody had the foresight.
Where does it take 6 months to produce kit? Where does it take 6 months to produce kit? You know very well. But remember, when teams win the league in the PSL, they have to quickly make T-shirts. Teams have to quickly make T-shirts that say champions. How quickly are those T-shirts made? How quickly are those simple things? Those simple things. But you remember when Sundowns won the PSL? They were teams quickly made a Puma kit which said champions. Champions, Mamelodi Sundowns. So that really confuses me as to where does this thing of 6 months come from? How does it take 6 months?
I don't know, because if you think about it, in the Bafana squad, there's 23 players, right? So you need to produce a home, away, and a third kit, or assuming you know who you're playing. So it's a home and away kit. You need a training kit or a couple of training kits, and then you also need a golf shirt and a jacket. Yes, that might take a while, but I'm sure in a month you can have everything sorted. The SAFA had more than a month to figure out that Bafana was playing Namibia and and Angola. Even if they were going to organize a friendly, they knew that come in 2 weeks, next week, they're playing in Cameroon. They knew that. It was there. It never changed. It never moved. So I honestly don't understand what's going on at SAFA, but I think I'll give you the last word on this, and then we need to move on to looking to the fixtures for this week.
100%. The last word on this import is that just remember that the focal point, yes, the kit comes secondary import. That's secondary import. But I think what this, we thank this kit scenario because it's made us realize as South Africans that are we giving the ladies the support that they need import. They've continuously made us proud import. I would go buy a Bafana shirt to go support Banyana Banyana. I would go to a stadium, to the Dobsonville Stadium, to go support Banyana Banyana because they've represented us with distinction. In the same way that the Springboks and the Proteas have represented us with distinction, they've done the same. It's so proud to see our ladies such as Rafida Jane playing for AC Milan. It's so proud to see our captain Janine van Wyk playing in Glasgow in the UEFA Champions League. It's so encouraging to see so many ladies apply their trade in the USA, where they're able to get scholarships at the best universities in the world. And I think that's the focal point. Is that we really need to support our ladies. These ladies have really made us proud as South Africans. The second point, let me just I really hope the Coq Sportif get their ducks in a row because we really we used to have the best kit in the world, but our performance on the field was poor, but we were well kitted out.
We look good.
Now, our performance on the field is poor, and now our kit is also poor.
Like, no inspiration. I remember the first time we wore the Nike kit in Stuart Baxter's first game. That
Against Brazil.
Now.
Against Brazil.
Oh yeah, it was Brazil, and given 5, and I was like, it's fine because we look good. But now all of a sudden, the jury's still out on whether Le Coq is still in or not. But look, we'll see how it goes. Team, let's move on to this weekend's fixtures and let's close out the show. Let's have a look at this week and weekend's fixtures. Today is match day 3, T-Man. We've got SuperSport United against Stellenbosch, Cape Town City against Mamelodi Sundowns, Go Citizens, Kaizer Chiefs versus TS Galaxy, Baroka versus Golden Arrows, Bloem Celtic versus Orlando Pirates, Amazulu versus Black Leopards, and Chakuma TTM versus Moroka Swallows. Which game? Look, I know. Look, if I look at the slate of games, there's obviously we'll talk about Maritzburg soon as well, but this Cape Town City Mamelodi Sundowns game is a massive one. It's massive. And as you say, if you're Orlando Pirates and you support Orlando Pirates, you're gonna want Cape Town City to come through here. Interesting stat here is that Mamelodi Sundowns have lost the most out of any club since Cape Town City has arrived in the Premier League, and that one is against Cape Town City. They've lost 5 times against Cape Town City. That's the most against any club in the PSL, and that stat is thanks to Opta Jabu. What do you think about? Do you think Cape Town City have it in them to beat Sundowns?
No, they don't. I think Sundowns are under pressure at the moment from their last result against TTM. They really have to produce the goods tonight. They really need to show that the coaches are under pressure at Mamelodi Sundowns. The 3 coaches, they're under immense pressure. They really need to show that they are back. They can build the team without Peter Musimani. So they really need to show. They really need to show South Africa that their fortunes over the past 3 seasons are not as a result of Peter Musimani purely, but it's as a result of the squad and the assistant coaches. They really need to show their mettle tonight, and I think they will with Mamelodi Sundowns. Orlando Pirates and Port, they also need to show that they need to build on what happened against Kaizer Chiefs and Port. In the earlier segment of the show, we mentioned how such a solid structure, we saw the glimpses of brilliance on the weekend that Orlando Pirates have in them, and this fixture tonight against Bloem Celtic is such a great opportunity for them to build on that, and the confidence is now back up with post the first 2 draws of the season, and hopefully Orlando Pirates can build on what they did in the game against Chiefs this past weekend. I look at the other games. Swallows managed to get their first win of the season. So the Duma Bears, they're up against Chakuma tonight. Chakuma have been one of our favorite teams this season. We heard on the weekend that Gustavo Paez will not be turning out for Chakuma this season. He added to the list of released players without kicking a ball, Opa Vanessa, Joseph Malawade, and unfortunately Gustavo Paez.
Catch and release.
They still
must sign Messi. This is my thing. I think they should just sign Messi, get Messi to wear the TTM shirt, and then obviously it's fine. We know he's not coming. But that's all I'm asking for. Because we catch and release. They lure them in and then they let them go.
Yeah. Would you mind just sharing that fixture screen for you as we dive into the fixtures once again? I'm just looking at the last Kaiser Chiefs. For Kaiser Chiefs, the confidence I presume the confidence is starting to come down now in Kaiser Chiefs. They did win against Chippa, but they've got 2-3-0 losses this season. And I think a loss tonight against TS Galaxy will really start putting the pressure on Gavin Hunt. And he is probably under a lot of pressure tonight as to what does he do. Does he field the youngsters again, or does he go with the more experienced players? So TS Galaxy will be looking to pounce on that. Kaiser Chiefs' confidence is low, and this is a good opportunity for TS Galaxy to also show their mettle in the PSL. I don't know what your thoughts are on these other fixtures.
So look, I look at like Supersport and Stellenbosch looks like it's going to be a draw. I'm interested to see what Stellenbosch's new front line looks like. They've got Junior Mendieta in from Argentina, who's going to wear the number 10 jersey. And I think he might just be, because there's a long line of South American players, Gustavo Paez here and there, who've come into the PSL and have done well. And so Stellenbosch and Steve Barker have decided to go there to go try find talent. So it's going to be interesting to see. Leletu Skelem has a great start to the season. Cape Town City and Sundowns, I'm hoping City does it. I think City have it in them to do it. The thing about Cape Town City, similar to, I think, Stellenbosch and Bloemfontein Celtic, is that defensively they're solid, they're structured, they shouldn't ship in a lot of goals, and they can cause you a lot of trouble going forward. Sundowns, last week surprised me a lot when they drew with TTM. It wasn't an expected thing, especially when they stacked. Sereno's possibly moving to Al Ahly for $3 million. That's 45. That's 45 to 50 million rand. So they need to figure that situation out. I think the team looks different without Sereno on the field. Gavin Hunt's problem is, I think everyone's going to compare him to Ernst Middendorp, because this team, Ernst Middendorp won, got within 15 minutes of winning a league trophy and led for the entire season with this current Kaiser Chiefs team. So there's no excuses for Gavin Hunt and he can't say Wits was better. His Wits team was better. The log position says the Kaiser Chiefs did well. Yes, Wits came third or fourth. So he needs to figure it out, because right now we might find fans at Naturena very soon, especially if he loses.
Kevin Hunt really needs to not have excuses, because we need to remember that this is the same Chiefs team that was supposed to win the league last season. They had a gap of 9 to 13 points at one stage, and I think Gavin Hunt has no excuses by saying that he doesn't have the talent at his disposal. The talent is there. The talent is there. He's got hungry youngsters as well to complement that talent. And you're right. If the results don't start coming, you know how the Kaiser Chiefs play for the
here we are.
Go to the terrain.
No, team, we can't lose to Chiefs. Can't lose to Sundowns, Pirates. Sundowns, they won at Chippa. It was an own goal. They can't lose to Pirates 3-0. And they can't come here and lose to TS Galaxy. And then on Sunday, we'll play Pirates again. And if he loses then, surely, but I don't know what will happen. But I think the fans might arrive. I grew up hearing stories of people arriving at the training ground, chasing coaches away. So we must be very careful. Yes, I think last week you spoke that they need to give him patience because he doesn't have transfers. But there's going to come a point in time where you got to win with the guys you have. You can't just start complaining that you don't have players. But let's move on to the other ones. I think Pirates and Celtic will be a draw. So here's the thing. Since 2009, according to Opta Jabu, Pirates have only beaten Celtics once. they have drawn 6 times and lost 5 of those times of the 12 that they've played. So I honestly don't see. I hope this new Pirates team with the fancy shiny Ferraris and the new players can do great things and score a lot of goals, because I think that's what this league is missing.
And don't forget. Don't forget to mention Barocampo, the early title favorite from the early results.
I think that, Richard Mbulu is living a charmed life, having scored 3 goals and he scored nothing last year. So I think that's going to be something to watch out for. Golden Arrows are also a team trying to find their feet without outside of Steve Compella. They did win last week. So they're also, it's a top of the table clash essentially between Bahoka and Golden Arrows, even though we're in week 3. And then you've got obviously Amazulu and Black Leopards. Amazulu with the signing of Tola Mlambo. They're also looking to make a couple more signings against the Black Leopards that has a man that cost Chiefs this transfer ban. I see Amazulu winning this one. I don't think Black Leopards can score goals. I think they've conceded the most goals, I think, this in this calendar year. It's ridiculous. And then Chakuma and Swallows. I'm not enticed by this game. I'm not. I won't lie to you. The only thing I'll watch is for Chakuma's press releases, because earlier today they said good luck to Black Leopards, their neighbors. And I'm sitting there going, but these guys are your right. They're trying to be friends with everyone, releasing press releases over and over again. But Swallows on there, the chairman needs to stop announcing signings. I understand it's your club. Yes, I get it. Happiness, Homonate. But please stop announcing. Allow your media manager to announce signings. We can't be waking up and seeing you announcing Sfiso Hlanti and you taking a picture of him playing for Bafana. Come on, guys. Come on. But this weekend, T-Man, we've got one more game. Just trying to sort that one out. Oh, we've got, MTN 8. We've spoken about them, but just to remind the viewers and the listeners, if you're listening to our podcast, Bloemfontein Celtic play SuperSport United on Saturday at 3 p.m. and Kaizer Chiefs play Orlando Pirates. That's the end of our show, T-Man. Do you have any final words, anything that we need to watch out for as we go into next week? I think my thing would be watch out. Eric Tinkler might get fired. Be careful. He might get fired. I think the international break's coming at the right time. He might just be fired so they could find another coach in the next 2 weeks. They've lost 10 of their they haven't won in 10. And since Jan to March, they were the best team in the league. They had 21 points, they had won 6 games, they had scored 14 goals, they were the best team in the league. August to now, they're the worst team in the league. They've conceded the most, 18. They've only managed to get 3 points in this 10 in this period from the bubble onwards. So I think Tinkler's some guy we need to watch out for. In the coming week, he might just lose his job.
No, 100%. I think one thing that we need to look out for over the next few weeks is the transfer window is coming to a close. There are, as you mentioned, there are rumors that Sereno has signed or is on the verge of signing for Al Ahly. There are also rumors that Samuel Nekovic Peter has expressed his desire to sign Samuel Nekovic from Kaizer Chiefs. That interest has been revived.
I can tell you now. Remember, we're talking about the fans going to Naturena. They might just burn the whole complex down if they sell it.
Yeah, but if Al Ahly comes to you with a very, very lucrative check, you know how Kaizer Chiefs are. They probably won't say no to that. They've been talks of a transfer fee close to 50 million rand, and I think Kaizer Chiefs might be looking to cash in while the player has done so well. By the way, Samuel Nekovic is injured at the moment. He's expected to come back at the end of November. So that's something to look out for. And as Mpo mentioned, unfortunately, Maritzburg have not done so well over the past few games. They benefited of having their fans at Herugwala Stadium on a Friday night. As you mentioned, they call it Friday Night Lights. And they used to demolish teams there. Teams used to go there on Friday nights, and the field that stadium was packed to the rafters, and they've definitely missed that atmosphere. We spoke about atmosphere earlier on in the show, and I think that's one team that's really missing having their fans at their home games in Herugwala Stadium. I think apart from that, I think we'll be looking out for Banyana in the COSAFA Cup. We'll continue supporting them, and they've won the COSAFA Cup. I stand to be corrected over the past they're looking to get their third in a row, or is it they've won the past 3 and they're looking to get their fourth in a row? So Banyana have really done well in ball, and I think they're definitely gonna. I think one thing that I like about Banyana, they're not gonna, they don't care about the kit troubles and they're gonna get onto the field and they're gonna perform and make us proud as they always do.
And to think that this is yesterday was the first competitive game these girls have played since lockdown. So they played really, really well. 2-0 against Angola. They're really doing a great job at representing the country. Thanks, T-Man. But anyway, let's do that. Let's end the show now. Thank you very much, T-Man, for joining us. Remember, you can interact with us on One World Sports Radio's the different platforms of social media. Please do shout out, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let us know what you think. Send through your comments. This is the Mzansi Football Show, your weekly South African football podcast if you're listening through your ears, or show if you're watching it on YouTube. Please do show your love and send your love and spread it as wide as possible. Let the world know that we've got the Mzansi Football Show on One World Sports Radio. We're trying to build a sports radio station, and this is how it starts. So please, please, please support us. Thank you very much for joining, T-Man. Until next week, enjoy the football. You too, the viewers, please enjoy the football. Have a great, great week ahead, and we'll chat in a week's time.